We're just going to get that up and running, which will kick off at bang on 10. So we'll kick off in a minute. So welcome to everyone else who's joining now.
Okay, if I could test my, if I could share my screen and
yeah. So is everyone still there, or have we killed everyone?
I'm here.
You're here. Steve's trying to test his screen. Joe, can you communicate? I can't see the screen at the moment.
Yeah, I can see you at the moment. Steve needs to turn his camera on. So if he goes to either the bottom and do start video.
Yeah, it won't let me. So it says the host.
Right, so we will just upgrade you.
It says you can't start your video because the host stopped it.
It's because
I don't know what I've done wrong.
So we have the ability to give you authority. So you now officially have authority. You are now in charge.
Oh, there I am. That's a bit of a shock. I've been staring at. Okay, let me just share my screen and just see if that works as well. Okay, let me just close a few of these down and close that down. Ah, there we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
All working.
Yep, it's working. That's good. Like that.
Excellent. So in which case, if you're ready, then we'll start recording. And we'll do the welcome.
We've still got a few people just jumping on the call at the moment. Morning, Piku. Morning, Philip. Excellent. Just a few more people jumping on. So if you can just give us a minute. Morning, Mark. Welcome to the call.
Steve, pause your sharing. It's my show for a minute.
I know, just checking the tech, just checking the tech.
Calm yourself. I know we've given you authority. This does mean, I believe, at the end that you have to give us back authority.
Yeah, it's all to do with trust now, isn't it, Pete? So do you trust me?
It is, but remember I still have the power button.
All right, that sounds like a threat, but okay, I'll go with that.
It's like a red button that I can push any time and just ends everything.
Okay, understood.
See, I'm still in charge, really. Right, are we ready to start? Yeah. Andy? Yep. Everything recording? Yep. In which case, we're going to say good morning. I know we've still got a few people logging on and coming in, which is great. And we've got people coming on to YouTube as well, which is also great. So welcome to everyone, and well, happy first day of lockdown for the third time. Which makes life quite exciting. And this session is something which is going to be really probably more relevant than ever, because I was talking to Steve a few weeks ago, and I said kind of the curve or the wave of resilience, which we use on a regular basis to show kind of how you kind of come through this process, and you have that denial and the anger, and then rock bottom, then the recovery and the moving forward. Actually, it was very, very relevant in the first lockdown. As we're moving forward into the second lockdown, we're discovering that we're then taking another hit. And then we had this uplifting moment where we had a bit of respite because it was Christmas and everyone had a bit of time off, or not everyone, some of you are working really hard, which is good. But then expecting the new year to perhaps be a bit of a fresh start, the news of a vaccine and the positive side of things, but then to have another lockdown, another period of uncertainty, and how we choose to face this, whether we use the excuses or whether or not we come back above the line and use the what I can do approach to make sure we respond correctly, becomes more relevant than ever, but it also becomes tougher than ever. So coming through this last year, I very much felt it was really a great way to start the year to get Steve back to join us to talk through, I suppose, the next level of resilience on how we can respond. And in relation to this, for those of you who haven't seen Steve before, he's written a book. If you haven't read it, it's very good. And thoroughly recommend it. But it's his story. This today is now taking his lessons further. And so we're going to hand over without any more of an introduction, other than to say, welcome back, Steve. It's going to be fantastic having you. You're now in control.
Thank you very much, Pete. And it's lovely to be back. Challenging times once again. And I have got some takeaways today. And it's going to be a little bit different to my last keynote, which is very much, I think I've already said, all singing and dancing. This one's going to be very much informative. But there's a big question that I want to ask everybody. By all means, put it in the chat if you want to. But how did your 2020 go? How did it go? It's just a big question. How did it go? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it challenging? So just put some words in the chat of how it went. One word would be great, and I can have a look at those as they come in. Because I really want to know, but I want to give you some advice and some tools that will help you in 2021. But first of all, 2020, how did it go for me? Okay, so 2020, cast your mind back. For me as a motivational speaker, it was going really well. January, I had gigs lined up as a speaker. This is what we want, want gigs lined up throughout the year. And I had a few gigs in January and in February and in March, April, mate, they're all planned. So that was really good. And I was going down to London, going around the UK. Can I just go back a little bit further? 2019, oh my goodness, what an awesome year that was for me. So as a speaker is a kind of a strange job. And it takes a long time to build things up. You build it up by word of mouth. So word of mouth had spread by 2019 and I was flying around the country. And I was really excited about 2020. So 2020, good year, good start. And also, I'd also become president of the PSA. Now, for those of you that shamelessly don't know what the PSA is the Professional Speaking Association. And this is, so I became president of just the Yorkshire section, nothing too extreme, but it's still, for me, it was an absolute honour to have that. And to run the meetings in Yorkshire, I had the responsibility of setting the meeting up, but most importantly, the exciting part was booking the speakers. So I finally got a chance to book some of the biggest speakers in the UK to come to Yorkshire, where I would host it. I'd meet them, greet them, shake hands with them. Do you remember the shaking hands thing? So I'd do all of that. And my first meeting in January was record breaking. It was the biggest ever Yorkshire PSA I've ever had. I had like 54 delegates that turned up. And it was great. We had the speakers and everything. February was also very good. And then we come up to March. Do you remember March? March started off actually okay. But by the end of March, rumours had spread that things weren't going too well with COVID-19. And at the end of March, things were closed down. It was pretty much cancelled. Everything was cancelled. For me, in my speaking business, everything was cancelled from that point onwards, which was bad enough. No income for starters. But I think for me, it was the passion. I chose this profession as a motivational speaker because this is what I really wanted to do. This is what I love. This is my vocation. And that suddenly got taken away from me. And that's horrible. As a president of Yorkshire PSA, I had to do the one thing that I didn't want to do. I had to cancel meetings. That's not what I wanted to do. I chose that. I had that honour to run those meetings, to make them the biggest and the best ones ever, not cancel them. That's the last thing I wanted to do. And I remember making that decision. I asked a few other people in the committee and said, are we going to cancel it? And I was very positive, very optimistic. I said, no, I'm sure it'll be fine, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. Until about 4 days before the meeting, I said, we've got to cancel. And we cancelled it, and I was absolutely gutted, as everybody else was as well. Right, let me just have a look at how other people did in 2020. It was full of opportunities. If you're bold enough to grab hold of them, oh, good, I like that, Philip. So we'll come to that later. A roller coaster, it certainly was a roller coaster. Dodge, duck, and dive. Yeah, I think we can all go with that. And there are lots of structured people say. So some people made the most of it, but I think for a lot of us, it was really, really challenging because things were cancelled. Now, as a lot of you know, my saying, the book that I've written and everything is very much about don't lean on your excuses. Turn your excuses into challenges. And this is hard. I'm not supposed to use negative words like hard or bad or anything like that. It's supposed to be challenging. But at that time, to turn the excuses which were there into challenges was going to be hard enough in itself. But I knew that that's what I had to do. And I think everybody realized that at some point. And we'll talk about the roller coaster and the wave of resilience. But I also knew that this is going to be a tough one. Tougher than just losing your keys or losing your wallet. This is going to be a really big change and adversity. And I'd need more than just like, you know, turning them into challenges. I would need grit. I would need hard grit. Now I come from Yorkshire, so we talk about Yorkshire grit all the time. And I'm sure everybody here has heard of the term grit, but what is grit? What does it mean? And how can it help you? So this is something I've put together, this next slide. Now, I'm not very good, I'm pretty good on slides, but this is a lot of text on slides. You don't have to read the text. I'm going to read it out for you. And it's kind of adapted from other quotes that I've seen. To achieve in this world, you need hard grit. Talent alone will not make you achieve. I see many people with a talent who are unsuccessful. Intelligence will not. Many intelligent people go unrecognized. Education will not. The world is full of educated losers. Grit and determination are the true functions needed to achieve. With grit, your dreams become reality. Now, that might be a bit blasé, a bit put out there, but I've come across this book, and some of you might know it as well, called Grit, and it's by Angela Duckworth. So put in the chat if you're aware of this book. It's a really good book that I recommend. I'm reading it at the moment, so I'm going through it, and I love it. It's very much about storytelling, about what she does, but how it relates to me is my journey is full of grit, which I'm going to cover in a bit. But I don't really know why I've done those things. Reading this book, I'm kind of connecting the dots. So Angela is a psychologist, so she's clever, she's got all the statistics, she's done all the investigations, and I'm starting to understand why I've got grit and why I've used it and why that's helped me and why I've achieved so much on my journey. And so it's really nice. It's kind of like getting my head above the clouds and actually seeing what's happening. Well, there's lots of things in the book, and I'm not going to go through the whole book because that wouldn't really be my presentation, that would be Angela's. But one thing that did stand out was one of the formulas that she spoke about, which is this one. Grit. Talent times action equals skill. So we've all got a bit of talent, a little bit of talent. Some of us got a big bit of talent. But what are we going to do with that? You use that with action. You take action, effort, you'll get the skill. Now, once you've got that skill, you need to like multiply that again. So you get the skill, you times it by the action, the effort, and you get achievement. So the common denominator here is action. You need to take action. You need to put effort in. You can't just have education, intelligence, or talent. You've got to do something with it. But how do you move forward? When you're being knocked down with the lockdown, with March last year, how do you keep moving forward? And that's where the grit comes in. So the big question is, what is grit? And the answer is, I don't know. I can't explain it. It's very hard, but don't worry. I'm not going to leave you there hanging. So there's going to be, I'm going to go through the 4 things that can build up your grit. And there's a bit later on in the presentation when you can find out on a level what your grit is. It's a grit indicator. It's a grit scale. So I'll send you a link to that in a bit. But first of all, I'm going to go through these 4 areas. Vision, routine, greater purpose, and growth mindset. So the first one is vision. So I love this. Vision is very important to me. And I feel it should be important for everybody if they understand how they can use it. So Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. Begin with the, whereabouts are you going? Where's your journey going? Have you got a map? Have you got a compass? Where are you going? What's your vision? As I'm standing here, I can see my vision board over there. I have a vision board. I do visualizations. I'll talk about that later. But what about you? So if you're making notes, write down number 1, vision. I'm going to tell you a story about how I came across having a vision and how that's helped me. So this goes back to 1996, and I was traveling through, I think I mentioned this in the Progress Shed last year. I'm just going to expand on it a little bit more and how it's helped me. So I was traveling through Australia, and I got stuck in this place called Halls Creek, and there's a Japanese guy, and I helped him to speak English. And after a couple of days, the floods went away, and he was just about to leave. And as a thank you gift, he gave me this coin on the screen. It's called a Goen. It's a 5 yen Japanese coin, and it's called a Goen. Now, Goen stands for good karma. So So good karma. And he said, Steve, this will bring you good karma, good luck, if you are aware of your vision and you seize opportunities. And I thought, okay, that's fine. That's good. Thank you very much. And I felt a bit guilty actually, because I didn't have a gift for him. But he went off on his way up to Darwin. And on that day, I went out traveling into the outback. And I had this vision of going to this thing called the natural wall of China. So it's a granite vein in the middle of nowhere in the outback. All the rock has eroded either side of it, leaving this white granite vein that sticks up, but like a wall. So it looks like a natural wall. So they called it the natural wall of China. I went out traveling, trying to find this thing on my own. My sandals broke and I had to tape them up. And there was lots of barriers put in my way, but I didn't give in. I wanted to find this wall because I really wanted to climb on it. Eventually I found it, saw it in the distance, got to it. I climbed up it, and it's an amazing thing, an amazing thing to climb up. And I wanted to take a photo. And this is in the days of there weren't digital cameras. So I remember hanging my camera in a tree and pointing it in the right direction just with a piece of string. And I took a photo of myself, and I didn't know whether it was going to come out or not. And this is the photo that I took, and it's an amazing photo. And it really, encompasses everything there. I was in the middle of nowhere, stood on this wall. And as I was doing this pose, I put my hand in my pocket afterwards, and I felt the coin in my pocket. And I thought, I get that now. I get what the Japanese guy, Taka, his name was, what he means. He says, be aware of your vision and seize opportunities. And I felt that this coin could help me to remember that, to remember to be aware of my vision and to seize those opportunities. Okay, so we're going to fast forward a little bit to 2002, where I started using my vision to help me in my dreams and my goals. So as some of you are aware, hopefully most of you are aware, I had a near fatal car accident in 2002. From that, I was rushed to hospital, and when I came round, I was told that I may never walk again. Now, these are drastic times and really hard times. Anybody who's been in hospital knows it's just doom and gloom in there. The only thing you want to do is get out. But I was stuck in there for 4.5 weeks. My legs had been crushed, and I didn't really know what my positive outcome was. I needed to stay positive. I needed to be optimistic, and to how I was going to do that, I needed a vision. I needed something positive, a positive vision to look forward to. And so I got my pad and paper while I was in the hospital. I started making notes. They turned into a bit of a diary, to be honest. And one day, instead of writing down how I was feeling and what medication I was on and everything, I drew a picture. And this is the picture that I drew. I just drew a picture of me standing again, walking again. But not only that, I'd actually walked up a mountain. Not only that, I'd thrown the crutches to one side. I mean, I wasn't even on crutches. I was just still in bed. After that, I was going to go into a wheelchair and everything. But this is my future. And I think when you draw a picture, you can draw whatever you want. It can be very positive. Why not? It's just a picture. It's just a vision. So that's what I drew. I didn't know whether it was going to come true or not. But the more I looked at it, the more my brain imagined that it was actually going to come true. It kind of saw it as reality. My RAS opened up. My particular activating system, the filter system that you have on your brain that works out what information you take on board and which information you don't. It was now seeing a positive vision. Now, after that comes the action. And I spent 3.5 years of doing loads and loads of physio, loads of rehabilitation, loads of mental health problems that I was going through. But one way or another, I had a vision, and that's what I was working towards. And after 3.5 years, I eventually did get up that mountain. I did throw those crutches to one side, just there with a walking stick. But still, I had achieved my goal because I had a vision. So I understand how vision is so important when you're talking about terms of grit. Now, I'm just going to go a little bit further on this because vision is so important to me to have it. And I'd want you to understand that. After 3.5 years, I got back to my new normality. And I got into the sport of para-triathlon, and I was doing quite well in it, with the swimming, the cycling, and the running. Now, this comes into the formula, really. Did I have a talent for triathlon? Well, I had a little bit of a talent for swimming, a little bit of a talent for cycling, and a little bit of a talent for running. I now had disabled legs, disability in both legs. So I was doing it as a disabled athlete. And people always used to ask me, and they still do, what's your best one? Is it swimming, cycling, or running? And I say, well, I don't know. I wouldn't say any of them, but you put them all together, and I'm a really good triathlete. So it comes with the effort and the action. And I did a lot of training. I did a lot of effort going into that. And I turned my talent into a skill, triathlon. The skill I then took into more effort, more action, and I got achievement. And when I say I got achievement, what I mean is I became a British champion. And that was great. It was amazing, to be honest. And I was grabbing opportunities, and I started thinking about what's possible. What more can I do? What more can I do? What more can I do? And so I thought, right, I need a vision. I need a vision of what I want to do. So I got my magic pen. It's not a magic pen, just in case you're wondering, but I drew a picture. I drew a picture of what was possible, what I really wanted. I wanted to become a European champion. I eventually wanted to become a world champion. So that's what I did. I drew a picture of what I wanted to achieve. I wanted to be world champion in 2011. And that sent me on a journey, a goal over the next couple of years, training hard, putting the effort in, putting the action in, and working through, becoming British champion again, 2 years running, 3 years running, becoming European champion in 2011. And then that took me all the way up to the World Championships, which are held in Beijing in 2011, competing against the rest of the world and crossing the finish line to become a world champion. So I achieved it. And how did I achieve it? One of the things that helped me a lot was the vision, having the vision. And what reminded me of that vision? The Goen around my neck, which I now wore and still do every single day. This Goen reminded me of to be aware of my vision and to seize opportunities. And that really helped me every day, just touching it, just reminded me, what do I want? What am I in this for? What am I doing? And so as I went through, I started wondering, if there's any more information on this Goen, because I wanted to start, after a while, I retired from international competition, and a lot of people said, Steve, what are you going to do now? And I can remember people asking me, I said, well, because I've done a few speaking gigs and I liked it. And so when my contract finished with my current job, they said, Steve, what are you going to do for a job now? And I remember standing there like a Superman pose going, I'm going to be a motivational speaker. And they're like, wow, that's amazing, Steve. How are you going to do that? And I was like, still in the Superman pose. I was like, I haven't got a clue. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to do that. But I'd realized by then that if I wanted something enough, I could make it happen. And that's what I really wanted. That's what I was passionate about. So I needed a vision. I needed a vision again, of course I did. And I started looking into what the Goen mean that I was wearing around my neck. And as I looked into it, I found out that it's got some markings on it. So the first one is farming. So it's got a rice plant there. And the farming, to me, means you gotta sow your seeds before you can harvest them. Things don't just happen. You got to put feelers out there. You got to ask people. You got to start the ball rolling. Do something. Take action. Plant those seeds and see what comes from it. The second one down is the lines at the bottom of the coin. They resemble the sea and fishing. Fishing is a massive industry in Japan, same as the rice with the farming. But the fishing is very much about casting your net wide. So who's in your network? Who are your friends, your colleagues, your mentors? Who do you look up to? Who do you inspire? Who do you aspire to be like? And who do you inspire? Who do you mentor? Who are the people around you? And also when you cast your net, make sure you cast it in the right place. If you're looking for big fish, go where the big fish are. So there's lots of messages within the fishing section. The last one is the little circle in the middle. This is for the Industrial Revolution that happened in Japan. And that to me is action. Take action. And I know I keep banging on about the word action, but there's a lot of people just doing the talk. That's all they do. They just do the talk. They don't do any action. You've got to do the action. Anyway, so with this in mind, I thought, right, I want to be a motivational speaker. What do I need to do? One of the things that you've got to do when you're stood on the stage, you've got a lot to think about. So the one thing you don't want to think about is the minor stuff, as in how you look. Okay, just let's get that sorted and get that out of the way. And I came across somebody who said, have you been to a stylist? They can tell you what you look good in and what you don't look good in. And I thought, well, I didn't even know that existed. But yeah, there's certain colours that make you look good and others that don't. So I went to this stylist. I said, look, I'm going to be stood on the stage in the future with hundreds and thousands of people looking at me. And the one thing I don't want to think about is, whether I look okay or not. I want to know that I look okay. So I went for a stylist assessment, and they do all your colours. And I found out that I was a winter person. So I like things like, things that look good on me are colours of white, black, dark red, burgundy, dark green, all the colours here, royal blue, The top I've got on today is blue, and that makes me look good. She also said, get a haircut and have a bit of a shave, because she says, you want to come across as, approachable. So I don't wear a tie, I have an open collar. There's lots of stylist tips that she gave me, keeping my hair slightly floppy because it's more approachable, keep the smile, things like this. It's really interesting, but this is from somebody who knows what she's talking about. I can think what I like to wear, but she actually knows the best. So I took all that advice, and that's what I did. And she said, what you look really good in is a dark blue suit. I went, oh, I like the sound of that. She says, yeah, a dark blue suit would be awesome for you. I said, I haven't got a dark blue suit. She said, don't worry. Next time you buy a suit, buy a dark blue one. I said, okay, will do. And I thought, but I can't afford one at the moment because I've just started out in this career. But I'll bear that in mind. So at the moment, I wear a white shirt and dark blue jeans. So it's kind of like smart casual. So that was my get-up. That was my uniform, should we say. And so that's what I did. And I joined the PSA, and I did lots of speaking gigs with my white shirt and my dark blue jeans. But what about my vision? This is what I'm coming to. So I needed a vision. And so I sat down and I drew this vision. And I've done 2 pictures here. On one side, there's me with the white shirt and blue jeans in a small venue with a PowerPoint. But on the other side, the right-hand side for me, is me on a big stage with a nice dark blue suit, and I've got a head mic, and I've got big lights, and there's lots of people, hundreds of thousands of people. And that was my vision. And that's what the picture that I put on my vision board. And that's what I really wanted. And that's what I was going to work towards. And so that's what I did. And I was working really hard, doing my keynotes, getting all the feedback, improving all the time, asking people, getting my network, planting the seeds. And it was probably about 2 years down the line, I remember getting a phone call and said, Steve, we've been recommended to speak to you. We're looking for a speaker at our next big event. I said, okay, big event. I thought, oh, that sounds good. So I asked them some questions. Because I was looking for my BSG, a blue suit gig is what I called it. So I asked them some questions. He says, oh yeah, probably about 1,000 people there. So well, that's good. We're going to have a big stage. We're going to have lights and AV. I was like, oh wow, this sounds like a BSG. And I said, and then we talked about the money side. That's always like a little bit of cringeworthy. But we talked about the money side, and they stated how much they were prepared to pay, and I stated out how much I would accept, and they agreed. And I thought, wow, this is a BSG. And the next day I went out and I bought that blue suit. And a couple of months later, I went to the event and stood there on the stage, looking out towards everybody, wearing my blue suit. I knew that I'd made it. I knew that I'd made it, my vision, my goal, and I'd achieved it. It was just an amazing accomplishment. And all the time while I was there, I had that going round my neck. So that I was being aware of my vision and definitely seizing opportunities. So where does that take me to my vision for 2020 before March happened? My business vision was very much to help, inspire and motivate. And that's it. The PSA vision, the Professional Speaking Association, was to open the doors. I wanted to open the doors of the PSA. There's a lot of people out there that want to be speakers, but they've never heard of the PSA. And I'm like, well, this is crazy, because this has really helped me to progress forward in my business. So I really wanted to get people that never heard of it to come in and check it out and see if they liked it, and hopefully they'd like it. So that was my vision. Okay, so what we're going to talk about next is routine. So routine for me is a big one, and this really helped me through lockdown, the last lockdown, the first lockdown. I've lost count how many lockdowns there are. Okay, so routine. My routine it starts at 5:30 in the morning. That's when I wake up. Now, when I say I wake up, I do Woogu. So I follow the Woogu system. And Woogu means W-U-G-U, Woogu, wake up, get up. Simple as that, really. There's nothing more technical about it. If you set your alarm for 5:30, that means you want to get up at 5:30. So you wake up and you get up. And that's it. If you set your alarm for 6, get up at 6. You wake up at 7, get up at 7. If you don't want to wake up at 6, then don't set your alarm for 6. Okay, don't hit that snooze button. Don't start going back to sleep. Don't start drifting. Wake up, get up. There's certain times when I really need this. When I used to be an elite athlete and go swimming, I needed to get to that swimming pool. I could take my hour swim before I started work. It came to me last year as well. when I wanted to see the sunrise. We're in Cromer and the sun rose at like 5:40, and me and the kids wanted to go down on the beach and see the sunrise. So when I set my alarm for 5:15, I couldn't just lie in bed. The sunrise was not going to wait for me. I had to get up, wake up, get up, take action, get down there. So I wake up, get up at 5:30. After that, I do some reading. I think personal development is very important, and for me, that's when it works best. After that, I do some stretches and do some floor exercises, some press-ups, some sit-ups, some chin-ups. After that, I sit down on the floor and I do some visualization, visualizing my goal, that thing that I really want to do. I've talked about my vision board, so I might look at my vision board before I do my visualization, then I put it into reality. What am I going to do? It might be a visualization about that day, that week, or that year. After that, I write down in my journal how I'm feeling, how yesterday went, how today went, but more importantly, what 5 things am I going to do today to get towards my vision, which I've just thought about. And once I've done that, I'm going to do some exercise. Now, the exercise for me on the rowing machine is a number of things. One, it gets my adrenaline going, gets my endorphins released, which is really good to wake up, to continue waking up. But for me, it's my time. It's time away from everybody else, just for 20 minutes. But it's also, I found, my meditation time. Now, you might have meditation in your remit. I've tried meditation. I tried it last year. It didn't work. I was trying it in the morning after I'd woken up. All it did was send me back to sleep. So I've tried it, didn't work. But I'm finding that the rowing machine is my meditation. I think I zone out up to a point and I start thinking about things. I relax. I get into that state of mind, which is really, really good for me. So my meditation, I think, is that, or sometimes when I go out for a run later in the day. Also, I'm listening to music, pumping music that I've chosen off Spotify, really good music. If you want to know some of it, contact me and I'll send you a list. It's really good, but it's all very uplifting. It's very much words of affirmation, and words of affirmation is really good. You can have a list that you can read out, or if somebody's saying them to you and you sing along to it just a little bit, then you're actually doing the words of affirmation. So I was doing that, and I was doing that throughout the whole lockdown. This morning routine, because it worked. I don't know about you, but I had a roller coaster, corona coaster through the lockdown. Some days I was okay, other days really, really bad. Sometimes I was sat on that row machine in tears, and I couldn't really explain why I was in tears. I think it was just everything was building up. You know, don't forget, my business was suffering, and my kids were off school and they weren't getting educated properly, and there's lots of things. There were people dying, of course. I wasn't able to see my family, my friends, holiday plans was scuppered. So there's a lot of emotion flying around, and there were times when I really struggled, and I must admit, I didn't want to get up at 5:30, even though my alarm went off. But I also knew that that's what I had to do. I knew that that's a good thing. I knew that in the evening, the bad thing would be to drink and eat chocolate cake, although it was very tempting. I knew that that wouldn't help me. And sometimes I did, don't get me wrong, but I knew that that wasn't the way to go. And so the routine that I stuck to every single morning, and sometimes I was a little bit lenient with it. Maybe I didn't do 20 minutes on the row machine. I only did 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but I still did it because that really helped for me. So routine is really important, and I now do it. I have a routine now with my morning routine. I've also implemented an evening routine before I go to bed, so I can relax. Because instead of just like watching telly and just going straight to bed, or watching something on your phone, you need to calm down. You think about gratitude. You think about celebrations. You've got to think about what you're going to do the next day. Maybe a little bit of reading, maybe a little bit of relaxation or meditation, or breathing in and breathing out just before you go to sleep. Okay, so so that was routine. That was number 2. The next one is number 3, which is a greater purpose. Okay, this sounds quite heavy, doesn't it? So what is your greater purpose? So Angela Duckworth talks about greater purpose, and she talks about 2 things really, pleasure or purpose. And she did this survey to find out people with good grit, grit and determination, did they thrive on pleasure or purpose? If they really loved doing something, would they keep doing that when the going got tough? Or when they if they had a really strong purpose, a greater purpose, would that keep them going more when the going got tough? And the answer is, it's purpose. So the greater the purpose, the more you're going to do it, the more you're going to stick with it. Pleasure is very good as well. If you've got both, awesome. Okay, so if you love doing something, great. But if you've got a greater purpose, then that's what you really need. And what I mean by that, And it blends in with what I've talked about before, like the vision. But what about why are you doing it? So if you want to earn money, lots of money, you want to be rich, what are you going to do with that money? What's the emotional connection on that? Are you going to take your family on holiday? Are you going to have more time off? You're going to spend more time with your friends? Are you going to open an orphanage? You know, what's the emotional connection to that? If you want to inspire people, why? Why do you want to do that? Do you want to give something back? For me, I get frustrated that people aren't doing the things that they could be doing, that they go through life just, you know, life is okay. I just think life is more than that. So for me, I had to think about, you know, what my greater purpose was last year. And I think I came up with these. So it's purpose, not pleasure. For me, last year was very much about survival, possibly still is. Survival in the business, survival mentally as well. But I was also very defiant and very, very determined. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that I chose to be a motivational speaker. It's not the easiest job to do in the world, but I chose it because I love it. And I will not have somebody or something telling me what I can and can't do. So if COVID-19 tells me that I can't do it anymore, I'm very defiant on that, a little bit stubborn. And I'm kind of like, I will show you. If somebody says, you know, you maybe, I remember going to an event and somebody said, oh, have you thought about, you know, until this blows over, have you thought about getting a different job? I'm like, I don't want a different job. I love being a motivational speaker. And so this is what I'm going to keep doing. So again, I'm determined to make this work one way or another. That's my greater purpose. Survival, I don't think you can get much more greater purpose than survival. So again, ask yourself, what's yours? What's your greater purpose that's going to take you through these tough times? Because that's what you need to know. Okay, the last one is growth mindset. Now, I'm sure you've all heard growth mindset before. So again, what does that mean? So Pete mentioned it at the beginning of this. Growth mindset for me brings us back to the wave of resilience. And we talked about that in the last time I spoke at the Progress Shed, that it's about flipping it on its edge. So seeing the positivity in things, having a positive mindset. So when things do happen, like the shock, the adversity, the change, you will have denial, you will have anger, sharing, you'll be sharing it out to anybody that can listen to you, and you will hit rock bottom. What I'm talking about, your growth mindset, comes around this next bit, the acceptance part and taking action. So what do I mean by that? So let's just think about acceptance. So when something bad happens, stuff's gonna happen. You can change the stuff's word to another word that you might want to put in there. That might be a little bit ruder, a bit harsher, but might get the message across. Stuff's gonna happen. You can't always control what happens, but you can control how you react to what happens. This is what you've got to do. Things are going to happen throughout your life, throughout your journey. There's going to be things that happen that are going to throw you off course. There are going to be barriers, pitfalls. You've got to accept that. And these could be big things. They could be small things. They could be things like I said before, losing your wallet, losing your car keys, stubbing your toe, having an accident, having COVID-19, getting locked down, having your business struggle. All of these things are going to happen. You can't imagine what's going to happen next around the corner. And I'm not saying live in the negativity and always fear the worst or anything, but just accept that when things do happen, by all means, sulk and do the anger and the sharing and hit rock bottom. But at some point, you've got to brush it off and go, okay, things happen. How are we going to react to this? How are we going to accept it and move on? And what action are we going to take? So one thing, you can do when you get to this stage, because it's not an easy stage to get to, but you can think about whether you're above or below the line. So some of you might have seen a slide like this before. Above the lines means that you're there. You're going to grab it. You're going to take ownership. You're going to be accountable of it. You're going to take responsibility. Below the line is where you don't want to be. You don't want to start blaming people and things, making excuses, be in denial. That's not going to help you. You've got to accept the situation. Now, the other one I said on the wave of resilience, I said you've got the acceptance and you've also got action. So the action comes back to grit. So I talked about this earlier, this formula. Action is very much about grit. Talent times action equals skill. Skill times action means achievement. And this will help you to go up the curve and up to where you belong. So after all of that, how did it go? So think about how it went for you. I'm going to explain how it went for me with my business as a speaker and also the PSA, becoming the PSA president of Yorkshire. So Let me just share the screen with you. In March, I had to cancel the meeting. And what I did was I looked into this thing called Zoom. You might have heard of it. And I had to read lots of instructions. I had to get a license. And within 4 days, I was up and running. And I was holding a meeting, a Zoom meeting on the Saturday morning, and it went well. And obviously, we carried on with Zoom for the rest of the year, every month doing the Zoom meetings. But it's a case of seeing the positives in that. And that's really hard at times, very challenging. But there are. I suddenly realized that, you know, maybe more people could come because they didn't have to drive to the event now on a Saturday morning. They weren't going to be there for like 4 or 5 hours, then drive all the way home. It wasn't really a day event now. It was more of a morning event. So maybe that's more appealing to people. I suddenly also realized that we can make it international. People from not just Yorkshire, you know, could drive that. People could zoom in from Scotland, from London, from Ireland, from Europe, from the world. And that's what we got. We got some international people coming in. I upped the marketing. I realized I couldn't, and don't get me wrong, I just want to say that I was absolutely gutted that I couldn't do this because I really wanted to do the shaking hands things and meeting the UK speakers and everything like that. But instead, I had to send them stuff in the post, a flat hat that they could wear and a Yorkshire tea bag. So still making connections and I was still getting the marketing out there so that everything was well known. And the figures. So how did it go? This is what you want to know. Was it a success or not? Success as much as it could be. It was really, really good. So last year, our average amount of people that attended was about 42 on average. That is double what it was the year before. So really good to get them. But most importantly, I said I wanted to open the doors. And if you look at the circle on the side, 42% of the people that attended my PSA events were new people. They'd never heard of the PSA before then, and now they have. I opened the doors. So I succeeded. I also managed to get one of the biggest PSA events in the UK and Ireland 1 month. So that's bigger than London and bigger than the whole of Ireland as well. So I really put Yorkshire back on the map and I was really pleased about that. So where am I taking this now? Well, now that I've opened the door to people, people now are aware of it and now I can help them because I believe that everybody's got a story inside them. And if they want to share that, to help people, to inspire others, or even promote their business, then this is what I can do. As a speaker coach, I can now help those people to take it even further. If anybody watching this today wants my help, please get in contact with me and we can talk about how I can help you to share your story, your insights, your knowledge in the best way possible, making it memorable, making it entertaining, making sure that there's a story in there. You're always going to do the story. Okay, so that's the Yorkshire Professional Speaking Association. What about my business? Now, my business, as you can imagine, as a conference speaker, not many gigs. They were all cancelled. And so I had to take it online. Once again, Zoom to the rescue. And so this is what I did. I had to adapt and adopt, change my keynote with sound effects. And this is what I did on the Progress Shed last year. But this is what I did at a lot of other places as well. And I realized, again, looking at the advantage, the positives, I realized that I could do more international gigs, which I did. I even spoke in New Zealand, obviously via Zoom, but I did New Zealand, which was amazing. I realized I could help my charity a lot more. I'm a Cub Scout leader and I love to help the scouting community. So by doing gigs for the Scouts, because obviously they weren't meeting down at the Scout Hut, they were doing it all on Zoom. So I could easily come along as a special guest and speak for my charity. And I also got paid one of my largest fees. So the same fee as I had on the stage, but also they bought about 200 books of mine as well. So the invoice was the biggest I've ever had. Don't get me wrong, okay, that was a bit of a one-off. There wasn't much paid work going on last year, but there was a little bit. And that helped me to stay afloat, gave me some positivity, gave me some optimism as well to keep going. But I think what I realized was I put all my eggs in one basket as a speaker, because that's all I really wanted to do, just speak on the stage to lots of people. That's what I love doing, so that's all I'll do. And I realized that that's not a very good plan to have. I put all my eggs in one basket. So what I did last year was I started changing things, and I do workshops, and I needed to take that online. So that's what I did. I started doing some webinars on resilience coaching and setting goals. Setting goals is the big one. And so because it was so popular, I've made that into an e-learning course. Now, the e-learning course is amazing because doing the videos and getting all my tools and techniques that I've learned and getting it out there is something that I love to do. Again, it's helping people to get to their self-actualization, to make sure that they're taking acceptance of the situation they're in, but also taking action. And so right here, right now, I want to offer this to you. To the audience here, 75% off my goal setting course. If you are interested, please just type gold in the comments, put your email address. I will pick it up when I save the chat, and then we can take it from there. But again, it's something that I'm really passionate about helping people to find out what their goal is. So give me a shout if you're interested in attending that workshop. So that brings us nearly to the end, and we come back to you, because what are your goals for 2021? How are you going to achieve them? And do you have enough grit? Lastly, you can see on the screen there, I've got a website link there. If you want to take the questionnaire to find out what your level of grit is, just click on the link there, or you can't click on it, so you copy and paste it. I'll tell you what, I'll put the link in the comments, and you can take it from there. That will take you to the website where you can do the questionnaire. It takes like 2 minutes to do, and it'll give you a scale of 1 to 5, and you can find out where you are. But before I go, I just want to say one more time, to achieve in this world, you need hard grit. Talent alone will not make you achieve. I see many people with a talent who are unsuccessful. Intelligence will not. Many intelligent people go unrecognized. Education will not. The world is full of educated losers. Grit and determination are the true functions needed to achieve. With grit, your dreams become reality. Thank you very much. And I will now post in the chat. There you go. So that's the link that will take you to the website where you can do the grit questionnaire. And if, like I said, if you are interested in the gold workshop, the online gold workshop, just type in the word gold and I can bring it up there, or just contact me. I'm on social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere, and you can email me on i.inspire@steve-judge.co.uk or visit my website. Thank you very much. Back over to you, Pete.
And Steve, you need to give us back the authority to take back control.
Okay.
So if you go to the participants, and then if you click on Progress Share Team,
you should now have control of post. Go to Progress. Have you got it?
Well, thank you very much for a brilliant session. I think really demonstrating the grit and resilience that's going to be needed for many, many businesses over the coming months. And I think in a variety of sectors, there's going to be some support. In other sectors, actually, there's not going to be any support. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see. I think in terms of routines, I think probably the biggest lesson for me there is very much a case of actually making sure you do what works for you and making sure you focus on the things that make sense and move you forward. And if you're going to set your alarm at 5:30 a.m., then you're going to get up then. Personally, I don't like 5:30 a.m. Any time day that begins with an F is not time to be waking up. Either you should already be awake or you shouldn't be awake. That includes 4 as well. And so brilliant. Equally finding your purpose. But I think going through this time, it does come back to that element of making sure you don't fall back on your excuses. Because if you end up leaning on your excuses, then you won't move forward, because it'll stop you taking the actions that leads to progress. And coming through this year, it's very much a case of having to make progress. So absolutely brilliant session. Thank you so much, Steve. And I mean, I think I spoke to you, it was probably about a month ago when I said, yes, Steve, but we don't want the same old rubbish, we want something new. And you said, something new? Well, I've been thinking about doing something new. I said, that's great. We'll see you in a month. It better be good. So well done, hats off. Absolutely brilliant session, lots of messages coming in on that. So fantastic. We'll next be back in 3 weeks' time, actually, on the 26th, where we're talking about scales. And I guess then will be Laura Cook of Dottier, so a local lady. And it's going to be a great session then too. So on that note, we're going to say thank you very much indeed, Steve Judge, and we look forward to watching your elements come through. We do have a question here. Sorry, Andy, do you want to shout at the moment?
Phil says, I see Steve alluding to a version of Fisher's transformational curve, which is a model for individuals' change. But when it comes to business resilience and bounce back, does Steve consider business continuity planning could be a better model for business change?
Oh, what's a business continuity planning? Is that a different thing altogether? Does it say what it is?
Let's see if I can find Phil. Phil, you should be able to unmute yourself and explain what you like.
Going live.
Yeah, so I'm not aware of the business continuity planning, but I'm always open to finding new tools and new systems and everything. I feel that the wave of resilience works for me. I think it's very adaptable and adoptable, and you change it as you want. If there's something out there that's similar, then yeah, by all means, send me a link or tell me what that is, and I can have a look at that. At the moment, I don't know what the business continuity planning could be. But yeah, everything's open, really, isn't it? And I think that's the same with lots of things like advice. When you hear a keynote, when you read a book, when you go to a webinar, there's so much information, and it's almost impossible to take it all in and adapt it and use it yourself. You pick and choose. Like I've read The Miracle Morning. I don't follow that book religiously. I've got my own system, but I've taken inspiration from that. It's the same with the book Grit. It's quite a big book. So I'm not taking everything out of it. I've taken the bits that, make sense to me. If you start trying to force yourself on something that you don't quite agree with, well, after a couple of weeks or months, it's not going to stand there. So you've got to find something that you really feel connected to, some synergy, some love, some passion with it, and go with that. So yeah, by all means, Phil West, if you want to send me some details on that, I would love to have a look at that.
I think Phil is actually here if you can talk. I don't know.
Yeah, I have unmuted now. Can you hear me?
I can, Phil, yes.
Yeah, no, what it was, Steve, very nice presentation and very good for inspiring the individual to grasp hold of the current situation and yes, look to goals and change. I was thinking more of a business as a whole, and as we're here about businesses, a business is an entity in itself, and for a business to be resilient, you've got to make the sum of the whole parts resilient. And that includes, of course, the owner of the business, and of course, it includes the staff, which is what your model is very good at. But it also includes other aspects of the business, such as the buildings, other assets, such as vehicles, et cetera, et cetera. And business continuity is about putting plans in place that when bad things happen, such as a pandemic, you can activate those plans in order to make sure that the business does not go under during that crisis. And I suppose my question was really, do you not advocate that would be good for those assets and structural parts of the business as opposed to the human aspects?
Yeah, no, totally. I think the answer is yes. Expanding on that, it's like doing a risk assessment, isn't it? So, if something could go wrong, what action are we going to do when that happens? And I worked in health and safety for 9 years, so I know a lot about risk assessments and about planning. And you do have to put your negative head on, as in what could happen in the future, what could go wrong, either against humans or about vehicles and properties and everything like that. But it's also what I learned. A big thing was about being proactive and reactive. And I was thinking, if you learn from other people, and then you put something in place, or other businesses, and you put something in place, that's you being proactive to your business. And they said, no, you're still being reactive. You're reacting to what's already happened to other people. Being proactive is thinking about something that's not even happened. And you're going to have to get really creative on that. And I think that's what I'd really promote, Phil, is doing something like that, sitting down with your team and thinking outside the box, even further outside the box, and thinking, look, if this happened and this happened, what are we going to do about it? How many businesses did actually plan for COVID-19 and lockdown? I'm pretty sure not many at all, because it's a bizarre thing that's happened. But there are some businesses that actually did, and good on them, because hopefully they've got a good action plan and they knew exactly what to do. I know it depends on what business you're in, and you can't start, like I said, you can't go around thinking negatively all the time. But it is about being proactive so that when things do happen, you've got a plan and you're all agreed on that plan, and then things will go smoothly. Does that make sense, Phil?
It does make sense. And yes, I think it's kind of joining, your inspirational talk to, like I say, get the human element inspired and go proactive. And I totally agree with that sentiment. We should be proactive and not reactive. And yes, it is about that. And it is about using that energy that produces to then focus on what you can do to bring the business through it as well. So yeah, we're kind of joining up on the two.
Good stuff. Okay.
Excellent. And so my clients is generally something which I've put into the format of lighthouse thinking, which came from Portland Lighthouse, where they have the contingency for every event. And they have this great big bulb that's in a lamp that's been there since, or was there since 1906. It's just been replaced with a little LED. And they have a spare part for every part of the lamp. So if any part of the lamp breaks, they've got a spare part on site. They never had to use one incidentally. So the whole thing remained entirely perfect for all that time. The main bulb, if the main bulb blows, they have a second main bulb which just comes up automatically. So there's their plan B. If that one blows, then there's another bulb which comes up, and it's a tiny little one. It can only be seen for 25 miles. That's their plan C. And if that one blows, they sound the foghorn whilst they replace the 3 bulbs. So that's their plan D. So they've got the thinking, the contingency for every event. With the electricity, it runs on mains power. If there's a power cut, there's a backup generator. If that generator fails, there's a second generator. And if that one fails, there's a battery which will last for 2 days. So they have all these contingencies. I think it's really important for a business to have all the contingencies in place, but I think it's really, really important for all the individuals and the people within the business to have the mindset to make sure they carry those through. And that's probably the toughest part for all of us in business right now and over the next few months. So, amazing session. Thank you very much, Steve, for joining us again. And I look forward to talking to you in the near future. Great session, lots of clear lessons, inspirational as always. And on that note, we're going to say, work hard, everyone, stay resilient, do well. If you need any help, then don't be afraid to get in touch. Kumi is saying, thanks, Steve, great presentation, catch up with you soon. So on that note, take care, everyone, work hard. And